hacer clic. Espero que aparezca acá en pantalla. Okay. Bueno, mientras aparece en pantalla.
In the meanwhile, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Internet. When they proposed me to come here and talk about this, I proposed two topics that they told me, no, it's not worth it. And it got my attention because they thought they were very basic topics. They asked me to talk about a more technical, advanced topic, which I'm very pleased about because in the previous talks that I have given in Colombia have been about entrepreneurship, but this is the first time I'm going to talk about something that's a little more technical about how the marketplaces work. Since I'm not sure you're going to like it or not, I'm going to ask for a favor. I usually have a picture of the audience. I usually take it at the end, but I'm going to take it right now because we're still awake. But also, random, please put your hand like that so that it looks like you're applauding, okay? Smiling, please. Great. Are you also clapping your hands? Good. Okay, what am I going to talk about today? The future of marketplaces is outsourcing. In crowdsourcing, the translation is multi-tercerización. That's the translation in Spanish. Please raise your hand if you have heard about crowdsourcing. Okay. So I hope I don't bore you. Why do I think I have some knowledge about the future of marketplace of crowdsourcing? Because I have been involved in several of them. The most famous one, which is the one that MIT Technology Review considered to give us the recognition of being Innovators of the Year in 2012, is Bonnie, Voice Bonnie, and Voice 223 are two brands that we have where we connect producers that need professional voices or anyone who needs a professional voice with speakers. All those voices that you hear in hotlines, video games, etc. Those who are laughing know what I'm talking about. It requires professional voices, but that's not the only thing that we use as crowdsourcing. We also did language 1 to 3 for translation crowdsourcing. We did some models and actors and with voice 1 to 3. And also we worked on an incubator that we have, Torrenegra Labs. We have invested or even created other marketplaces that share a lot with crowdsourcing. I have a couple of patents. We have a couple of patents. It's not just myself, but several members of my team. It has to do with crowdsourcing. And that's why I think I know a little bit about this topic. What is crowdsourcing? I should explain it to those who don't know about it. The name comes from the word outsourcing, which instead of hiring employees for a company, you hire third parties. The idea of crowdsourcing is not that you hire one third party, but hundreds of people or thousands of people will be able to work for you and meet that requirement that you have. So given that tendency, there's a lot of marketplace that allows you to go to a place online, request something and have many people bidding on that and give you the result that in many cases, like I saw, like you're going to see earlier, you get better results than what you have gotten if you hire only one professional. Maybe also you would get it at a lower cost and faster. So what can you do with crowdsourcing? Maybe normally it's used with digital content, things that you can deliver through internet, for example, graphical design. You can do pictures or photography for designs. If you need voices like what we do, or copy, which is writing articles or market videos, several of the ones you are seeing in TV, especially in big events like the Super Bowl, have been done using crowdsourcing. Also music, ideas in general, such as what Juan Pablo was saying earlier, but also you can say that crowdsourcing touches on services that cannot be delivered through the internet, that are not digital content, but also physical. For example, lodging when you're traveling and you have to stay at a certain place, and also transportation when you have to go, or also to send something or ship something from one place to another one. You can also do crowdsourcing for many other things. One of the examples that I like to show, there's an internet company that is building cars by doing crowdsourcing for each of the parts. So you get voting on the different parts that people submit, and the most popular are the ones that end up being used for the construction of cars. This is the result of the first car that they put in the market based on that methodology. Now, one of the typical questions in terms of crowdsourcing is the quality. If instead of hiring a professional or an employee directly, what if I allow anyone who comes my way on the internet to do something for me? Can I expect the quality to be good? As a principle, no, because any crazy person can come and answer to your request. But fortunately, there are tools that allow you to get the objective in the opposite way, so that you can get actually the best through crowdsourcing. Why? Because, for example, when you request a voice in Voice Bunny or in Voice 123, at the end of the process, you can give us a score for the work for that actor or designer or translator, or any of the marketplaces that you are working with. When someone gives you a score as a professional, but when 100 or hundreds of people give you a score or give that person a score, and not just that, but there's hundreds or thousands of buyers who are also giving scores to thousands of providers, you can determine which ones are good, which ones are bad, and predict in advance when you have a new professional or vendor. You can see if that person is going to be successful in what we are requesting. In fact, not just that, but also you can start having additional factors that you could have never thought about before that you could take into account in order to determine if a person is good or not. In case of actors, voice actors that we're very familiar with, previously a good actor was considered someone who knew how to go to a studio and do a recording based on the directions given by the director of the project or the product. Today, we're selling voices to many people who have never had a professional voice. You can visit Voice Bunny or Voice 123, and you can say, I need a voice that's similar to the one of the video that we saw earlier. That's all you have to give us. So what we do is we know what actor is good to do that voice, but also what actor is good to read the customer's mind based on the instructions that he gave us. And today, that becomes an important actor for you to know if you're a good professional in that aspect or not. Other aspects, the quality of recording. Do they have a good microphone, a good studio? When they send you the audio, did they send you an audio that didn't have other noises? Or when you requested the change was delivered quickly? We have statistics for each of those details. And so we can find voices that are much better than the ones that are normally found using the traditional methods. I don't know if I have. Do we have audio for this?
Consultation to installation and completion. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
That's el poder de Home Depot. Who knows who Home Depot is or what Home Depot is? It's one of the largest companies in the United States selling hardware to fix homes and things like that. We have a customer who came to us, Voice Bunny, and he said, I need a voice that is similar to the one in Home Depot, but I have a small budget. Originally, that voice was gotten by a traditional method, and it cost about $3,000 to $4,000, and it probably took about 3 to 4 weeks to get them. They came to our platform and say, we need that voice, and I'm going to do a playback of 2 voices, the one that you just heard, which is this one.
More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
That's one of the voices, and this is another one.
More doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
When I don't know what answer you will have, but when I ask the question in the market in the United States, which one do you think is the original voice? Usually they tell me number 1, and they consider number 2 is the voice that you hear on TV and radio advertisings, and it's actually the opposite. The original one, the one that they paid $3,000 for and took them 3 weeks to get, was voice number 2, and voice number 1 is the one that they got through Voice Bunny, and they paid $35, and it took us about 15 minutes, and that applies to all the marketplaces that you can find there. Now, the size of the project. Today, because now we're talking about the predictions as to what is going to happen with the marketplaces of crowdsourcing, the majority of the projects are relatively small. If you want to write a book, probably you will not want to do crowdsourcing for that, or if you need to hire a designer that will be doing the design of a magazine permanently for a year. But these are very popular for short projects, with, for example, one logo for your company. If you're traveling and you need lodging for one trip, or if you need a voice, if you need to create the text for an advertising that you are working on, or if you need a video. But my prediction is that little by little, crowdsourcing is getting more popular in longer projects. Marketplaces are giving us the tools to generate continuity, even if you are constantly changing your provider or supplier. One of the companies that is applying crowdsourcing in Colombia, Mi Carga, is working with owners of trucks who normally, about 1/4 of the time in Colombia, have their trucks empty. They're using tools to learn where their trucks are coming from, where they're going. Usually the owners are the ones who are driving the trucks, and we're connecting in real time with the transporters of loads, which might be interested in offering a lower rate to load and to transport those loads. So maybe if they do it once, it might not be a good deal, but if you can do that constantly and hire hundreds or thousands of these truckers thanks to a platform, marketplace becomes an option that you can have your own network of trucks or truckers that will work exclusively for you. Other examples, thousands of articles for change your imitation to be in the Google or other search engines. Also in large projects with Voice Bunny that we're doing is publications with written content in internet. We are making them into audio so that they become podcasts. We cannot promise the same voice. It usually depends on who are available right now. But thanks to the statistics, we can get voices that are very similar to the style that you are requesting. You can also do crazy things. For one of my favorite projects is someone wanted to translate Moby Dick into Japanese emoji. I think this is Japanese emojis too, emoticons. If you want to do it, you can do it using the crowdsourcing platforms. Why? I don't know why. Someone wanted to do it, so they did it. Now, some history. Where do you want to go if you want to do crowdsourcing in general, like this type of translation, or if you need someone who catalog thousands of photographs? You can use tools such as Amazon Mechanical Turk, Crowdflower, or Workana. By the way, this presentation, I'm going to tweet it on my Twitter. Torrenegra, if you can have access to this list. Workana is based here in Latin America and is focused on the Latin American market. As for design, if you want a logo, a banner, you can use 99 Designs or Spring. If you want copy, you can use, there are many, these are just 4 of them out of 15 that I know, which focus on helping companies that need written content, voiceovers, videos, Pop10.net, Genius Rocket, Tongal, companies which have received capital. And they are drastically changing the way which companies work with marketing companies. For other strata is for crowdsourcing of marketing campaigns online. It sounds weird, but they're doing really good. Now, as I said, maybe transportation sometimes can be considered as crowdsourcing. Uber X and Lyft, Sidecar. These are companies which allow any person who has a car to sign up. Who have used It's like taxi here. Okay, it's like a taxi, which allows you to request for a taxi, but you will not get a taxi, but you will get someone in your own car. Anyone who has a car can say, I want to start offering transportation services. So what these marketplaces do is connect someone who has to go from one place to another with anyone who has a car at this point, and maybe they're just going in that direction or they have some time available and they can do this. Is it safe? I don't know. Maybe getting into a car that is not a taxi is probably safer than getting into a taxi. So yes, it's not just people, are also Mi Carga is also working with shipment of merchandise in Colombia. None of this is in Colombia. Uber is in Bogota, but it's working on the taxis sector, but it's growing the market so that anyone with their own car can do it here in Colombia. The first couple of ones are working in San Francisco. As for lodging, this Airbnb, HomeAway, Segundo Hogar in Argentina. Airbnb allows any person to offer a room in their home so that the travelers can stay at their home. So how do you add your address to their what I previously said, statistics that you can have, statistics of the sellers who is on the best. Airbnb is doing it, not just for those who are offering their rooms, but also whoever stays at your home. So when you get a request for someone who's going to stay at your home for whatever amount of money you request, they will give information as to who this person is, how many friends they have, or how many times they have stayed at different places, so that you can decide if you want to trust this person or not to stay at your home. As for cost, there are some examples here about how crowdsourcing has changed the cost and how they can keep changing them. Translations, for example, they're pretty much the same cost as what you can do now is you can translate books or websites in an automated way. The process used to be very manual, but crowdsourcing has saved time for the industry. In terms of logos, the prices have decreased significantly. It used to be in the United States, probably $1,000 to design a logo, but today you can do it for about $300. Another interesting thing is that before you had to do a lot of work with royalties, so you had the talent and you would hire a company for a voice. You would have to pay royalties every time you use that voice. And that would apply for many industries as well. But today, in crowdsourcing, the customer is the owner of the intellectual property, so that he doesn't have to worry about that permanent cost. Why? Because he owns the IP. Why are costs reduced and speed is reduced? Well, in the voices market, it used to be all these people involved when you were trying to get a talented person. And probably the voice that you got from EmTech, that's what you got, because we are not here yet, but you hire the casting director, he hires people, studios, syndicates, maybe in Colombia it works like this today. There's also auditors who get the money and distribute it to each of them. So when you have so many people as intermediaries, that's what happens. And also the same thing happens with taxis. When you take a cab or a taxi, there's the taxi there, but there's also the owner of the car and also the cab company, and everyone takes a space. Applications such as UberX or Lyft allow for just one intermediary, which is the application. So the seller gets a much larger percentage of the transaction, and therefore costs are reduced and productivity is increased. In our case, the algorithm is that bunny that you see here, Mr. Bunny. And finally, where do we think these markets are heading? The digital service, I think the winners are going to be global. It's very possible for a voice bunny service to win in the United States, but in other companies or countries it will be more dominant because the technology to develop this type of marketplaces is very costly. If I want to create a voices marketplace only for Colombia, it will be much more expensive in terms of investment per project. Instead, if I'm working on technology that will work globally, the only exception is China, because China is completely different in terms of how the economy works. But in general, I think that's what will happen. In terms of face-to-face services such as lodging and taxis, there will be competition both in global companies, with global companies, and local companies, because many times the way the local economies work make it difficult for global competitors coming to this market, especially in what has to do with exchange of money. For example, in the case of Airbnb, you prepay to Airbnb, and Airbnb pays to the host, to the person who's getting the traveler. And doing this in Colombia is complicated because the banking system, the money transferring system is very difficult. So, segundo lugar, what they do is they're charging a rate to the person, and then they pay to the owner of the apartment. Airbnb will probably not change that, so I think there will be less competition. I think there will be some more APIs, more complex areas, more automation of these processes. There will be consolidation. In a few years, I think many of these companies will get together, and there will be global firms offering design, translation, voices, etc. And I think there will also be less marketplaces. There will be more services where you, as a buyer, you don't know you are getting into a marketplace. You will just open the application, you request for a taxi. You will not have to worry about who is picking you up. For you, it's just a service. For the seller, for the taxi, or for whoever is driving the car, it is a marketplace. But for the buyer, it's just a service that he's using, and that's very convenient. And one final lesson: for those who want to do homework through crowdsourcing, that's also a possibility. Thank you very much. That's all.